The night was quiet, broken only by the hum of traffic below the old iron bridge. Daniel Hayes, a single dad barely keeping his world from collapsing, had taken the long way home after a late shift, his thoughts heavy with unpaid bills and his daughter's fading smile. That's when he saw her, standing at the edge of the railing, hair whipping in the wind, shoes balanced dangerously close to nothing. Instinct surged before reason, and he shouted, "Don't jump!" His hand caught her wrist. What he didn't know, what would change his life forever, was who she truly was. Daniel hadn't meant to be on the bridge that night. His truck had stalled again, the old engine coughing its last breath near the gas station, and he decided to walk the mile home. His daughter, Emily, was at a neighbor's house, asleep after another long day of him juggling work and parenting. He told himself the cool night air might clear his head. Instead, it weighed heavier with each step, pressing down with worries he couldn't shake. Rent overdue, groceries dwindling, the court letter reminding him of custody reviews. Then he saw her. A shadow at first, framed against the dim glow of the streetlights, but as he drew closer, her shape sharpened. She was young, maybe early 20s, her posture rigid, her hands gripping the cold steel railing. His chest tightened. He knew that stance, desperation balanced on the edge of giving up. For a split second, he froze, memories flooding of nights he, too, had wondered if the fight was worth it. But his daughter's face always pulled him back. "Hey?" His voice cracked the silence, louder than he intended. She startled, her head whipping toward him, eyes wide, filled with terror and sorrow all at once. He raised his hands slightly, as if approaching a wild animal. "Don't jump," he said again, softer this time, his steps steady but careful. Her lips trembled. "Please go away." "I can't," Daniel replied. His throat tightened, but he pushed on. "I've got a little girl at home who needs me. If I walk away and let this happen, I'd have to look her the eye tomorrow, and I couldn't." Her shoulders shook, the wind pulling strands of hair across her face. "You don't understand." "Maybe not," he admitted, "but I know pain when I see it. I know what it's like to feel like the world's crushing you. But if you step off, you don't give life a chance to surprise you." Her grip loosened just enough that his heart leapt. Without thinking, he closed the last few steps between them. She gasped when his hand closed around her wrist, warm and firm. "I've got you," he said, pulling her back from the railing with a strength he didn't know he still carried. She stumbled into him, her sobs muffled against his chest. And as he held her trembling form, Daniel realized this wasn't a stranger he could simply leave behind. Fate had placed her here in his path, and something told him their lives were about to intertwine in ways he couldn't yet imagine. For a long while, they stood there, the sound of her crying mixing with the steady rumble of cars below. Daniel didn't know what to say. He just held her, letting her release whatever storm had been locked inside. Eventually, she pulled back, swiping at her cheeks, eyes red and glistening. "Why did you stop me?" she asked hoarsely. Daniel shrugged, though his heart pounded. "Because I know what it's like to stand on the edge of losing everything, and because no one deserves to face that alone." She looked away, silent. He studied her carefully. Expensive coat, delicate jewelry, shoes that didn't fit the kind of girl who wandered bridges at night. She was someone from another world, a life of money and privilege. And yet here she was, broken like him. "My name's Daniel," he offered. "Daniel Hayes. I've got a 7-year-old daughter who thinks I'm a superhero, even when I can barely pay the bills." He gave a wry smile. "And who are you?" She hesitated. Her voice trembled as she said, "Clara. Clara Bennett." The name tugged at his memory. It wasn't until later that it would strike him. Bennett, as in the Bennett Corporation, one of the biggest companies in the state. Tonight, though, she was just a young woman whose hands were ice cold and whose eyes carried shadows. Daniel walked her off the bridge, guiding her toward a bench under a flickering street lamp. "Do you want me to call someone for you?" "Family." Her laugh was bitter. "Family. They wouldn't notice if I disappeared." She hugged herself, shivering. "My father sees me as a disappointment. My mother hides in her social events, and the only time people care is when I'm smiling at some fundraiser." Daniel frowned. "So you came here?" Clara nodded, her lips quivering. "I thought if I ended it, At least I'd finally be free. Something in Daniel ached at her words. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. I can't pretend to fix your life, but I can tell you this. Emily, my daughter, she's my whole world. If I wasn't here tomorrow, she'd be shattered. You think no one cares, but someone out there would feel that same hole if you were gone. You may not see it now, but you matter. Clara stared at him, tears brimming again. Why are you doing this? Daniel exhaled, glancing up at the night sky. Because once I wish someone had stopped for me, and because maybe saving you is a reminder that I'm still worth something too. Over the next few days, Clara couldn't get Daniel out of her mind. She replayed the moment he grabbed her wrist, the warmth of his voice when he said, "I've got you." In her world of wealth and polished appearances, sincerity like his was rare. Against her instincts, she reached out. Daniel was surprised when Clara showed up at the diner where he often took Emily for pancakes on Sunday mornings. Her presence drew stares, elegant, composed, but her eyes softened when she saw Emily laughing at her father's silly faces. "Clara," Daniel asked, standing awkwardly as she approached. "I wanted to thank you," she said quietly, "for that night, and maybe to know more about the man who saved me." Emily tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy, who's this?" Daniel crouched beside his daughter. "This is Clara, sweetheart. She's a friend." Emily grinned and offered a syrupy hand. Clara laughed, shaking it gently, something in her chest loosening at the child's unfiltered warmth. They shared breakfast, conversation flowing easier than Daniel expected. Clara asked about Emily's favorite books, listened intently to her stories, and laughed when syrup dripped across the table. For the first time in months, Clara felt grounded, part of something genuine. As the weeks passed, Clara visited more. She and Daniel talked late into the night, sharing pieces of their lives. She told him about the suffocating expectations of her family, the emptiness behind her wealth. He told her about losing his wife to illness, the years of scraping by to raise Emily alone. It was an unlikely bond, two people from opposite worlds, connected by one night on a bridge. Months later, Daniel realized how much Clara had become woven into their lives. Emily adored her, often asking when Miss Clara would visit. Clara, in turn, found herself smiling more than she had in years, her burdens lighter in the presence of a man who asked for nothing but honesty. One evening, after dinner at Daniel's small kitchen table, Clara lingered as Emily went to bed. The room was quiet, the air filled with unspoken words. Finally, Clara whispered, "Do you know who I really am?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You're Clara." The woman who almost jumped but didn't. She laughed softly, shaking her head. "I'm also Clara Bennett, heir to the Bennett Corporation. People usually care about that first." Daniel leaned back, expression calm. "I care about the girl on the bridge, the one who needed someone to remind her she mattered. Titles don't change that." Her eyes shimmered as she stepped closer. "You saved my life, Daniel. But more than that, you gave me something I'd never had before. A place where I feel seen." He swallowed hard, his heart thudding. "And you reminded me I'm more than just a struggling dad. That I still have something to give." Their hands found each other across the table, fingers lacing. In that quiet moment, surrounded by dishes and the hum of a small apartment, they both understood. Sometimes salvation isn't about pulling someone back from the edge. It's about walking forward together, building something worth living for. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt hope. Clara did too.